Hello, 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 and welcome to Creative Cafe's Tech Talk Thursday. And trying to get Substack working, but that failed miserably, so some more testing to do. But this is what we do here. We play with tech, we talk about it, and we have a good laugh when it doesn't work. But today, we're going to be having a wonderful guest on the show. We've got Douglas back, and we're going to be having a chat to him about the new book he's written, which is all about AI. It's called The AI Leverage, Building Purpose, Resilience, and Success. Martin McKenna has already got an advanced copy of the book and had a look at it. I'm still waiting for Portugal's postal service to deliver the book, but we've got some questions for Doug, and we've been looking forward for him to be joining us very soon. We've got a few people who've joined us already. We've got Val. Hello, Val. Thanks for joining. And hey, Tony. Thanks for joining as well. But without further ado, let's get Mr. McKenna on the show before we bring Doug on. Mr. McKenna, there it is, the book. How's it going? Look, you've been anxiously just getting your way through the book.
Just proving that I have got the book.
There you go.
So, yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about a book. We're quite often talking about tech and little gadgets that come in boxes or bits of software that you download or log on to. So it will make a nice change to talk about a physical book, and in particular because it involves a little bit of AI, and this time AI and people as well. So that's a bit of a clue.
Bit of a clue. But it's going to be good. I'm just going to move my comment things over just 1 second because it's all gone a bit weird. Okay, so we've got Tony in the house. We've got Keith. Hello, Keith. I'm going to close my restream thing because it doesn't work, and we'll leave it at that. Anyway, enough technical challenges for one day.
We like to pile them up.
I know, we'll just pile them all up. I just try and do too much on these streams. I should keep it simple, but trying to go live to multiple places, but it's all working on Restream anyway, so that's great. But let's, without further ado, if Doug gives us a thumbs up in the green room, I think he's ready to go. He's ready to go. Let's bring on Douglas and let's talk about his book. Doug, welcome back to the show. How you doing, sir?
I'm good. I'm doing good. How you doing, Neil and Martin? Thank you very much for having me back. Much, much appreciated.
Well, we love having you on the show. And for people who don't know who you are, could you just give people a quick heads up of who you are and what you do, Doug?
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. For those who don't know me, my name is Douglas Hamandishe. I'm a transformational consultant. I work across local government as a councillor, deputy mayor, about to be dethroned, to be precise. I've been working across digital transformation for the last 20 years, working mostly in the healthcare sector, transforming computer systems, mobile systems, joining up services between community and inpatient, as well as being a certified geek. I've been playing around with tech since I was the age of probably 4 or 5. So most things in tech I dabble in, AI being the latest, but then before that, everything from video, filming, music production, and to wrap everything in a little nutshell, I work across transformation. I transform people, products, and services. That means I'm very, very busy, but that is my raison d'etre to help transform lives.
Cool. Excellent. And you've obviously been very busy this year with writing your sort of first published book. And obviously the title is The AI Leverage, Building Purpose, Resilience, and Success. So my first question to you is, what was your biggest personal revelation when you've been writing this book?
There were quite a few moments where writing the book, because this book has been your first one, like a singer-songwriter might get their first record deal and have to put together a series of songs that they have collated over many, many years. This book was written many, many years ago because it's a fusion of human transformational elements to it, as well as having a thorough underpinning of what technology can do to enable us to amplify the human. So it is something that I've been writing on and off for over 10 years. Different lessons, because it's almost semi-autobiographical. So in that, I was exposing things about my past that I thought were dormant, feelings, and really trying to understand how I got through certain situations. Because as in the book title is, it's about building purpose, resilience and success. And you cannot really expose those things without doing a deep introspection on yourself. What is your why? So the biggest revelation was coming to terms with my why. Why do I do what I do? What is my value system? Not the way I was raised as such, but being able to then reflect on how I was raised now as an adult, as a 50-year-old male. Like, what does it mean now for me to be human? Forget what I was told, and being able to then use those lessons to really map out something that makes sense. Because I think a lot of people can resonate to where we are in humanity, where we've got technology moving at such a fast pace. And the human is like, we're almost like chasing the Red Queen in Alice in Wonderland. We can never quite catch a Red Queen. No matter how up to date we are with this technology, it's always ahead of us. But we are the common denominator in all of this. So we shouldn't lose ourselves. So it talks to that. So the biggest revelation is I'm more grounded in my why. I had to do some real soul searching and take lessons from other senior leaders, coaches, mentors along the way, and really have that out. I went to my dragon's pit and I didn't leave until I fully understood who I was. And I think that's also important. And it was frightening. So I was scared. I was a child again. It was like unlocking Pandora's box that kept giving. But I felt with every lesson, I'm going to pen what are the key lessons here and hopefully share that with the audience.
Cool.
I think I noticed having, I've only had the book a day and a half, so bear with me, folks. I've only had a chance to dip in and out of the book. But I noticed immediately there's references, and you just mentioned Chasing the Queen there, but I also noticed references to Charles Dickens and The Matrix and all sorts of things. So it's really interesting to see that clearly you've gone back over, your life and times, and all of the things that have influenced you have started to be put into the book. So given all of the different references and all of your, different touch points, who do you think would benefit from reading this book and your lifetime of observations?
Okay, I think this book is really aimed for anybody that's working in and around transformation, and that's all of us, really. If you're a parent and you are worried or concerned how to raise your children in a technologically advanced age, and you feel de-skilled, this book is for you. If you work in education and you're thinking about, okay, how are we going to assess intelligence? How are we going to assess these children when they've got tools now that enable them to have access to literally the human experience in a nutshell, in an unbridged, unbridled manner? How are you going to do that? It's for the educators. And most importantly, it's for the innovators. It's for those people who are curious and they want to do more, who sometimes find themselves stuck. Because any tool, if you found yourself asking yourself, you got these tools, but all you're producing out of them are graphics. My dad told me very young, any tool is useful if you know how to use it. So you know how to harness a tool, any tool is useful. So a lot of people are dabbling in AI and they're producing comical things. How many people are using it to really transform their lives? Very few. So this talks at those people who are at the precipice of asking themselves, okay, why is it I can't maintain momentum with all these tools? What is it that I want to create in life? So it deals with the human aspects of technology. As an engineer by background, it's probably the most humane way of approaching technology, starting with who you are. So if anyone is at that point where they're trying to figure this space out, it may be pending redundancies at work, and you're thinking, oh my God, what do I do now? I've got this tool, what next? This book starts with you, your value systems, your principles, and helps you shape the necessary habits you need to maintain momentum aligned with vision, passion, and belief, so that you can have greater resilience. Because this road as a content creator, Martin and Neil, you can testify to this. Sometimes we just get blank. Get all the tech in the world, can't produce anything. And this is why identifying your purpose first is so important. So you have to deal with the human. So anyone that is curious about the human determinants of success and wants a sprinkling of technology, because this book is not going to teach you how to do prompt engineering. It's not designed for that. It's to prepare you for when you want to use the prompt engineering, it can be aligned to something that is really meaningful for yourself.
Do you think that AI, because it's changing so rapidly, people are just really getting overwhelmed with how they can use AI in a practical application throughout their daily life? Because as you mentioned, this book is not about showing you how to use the tools. It's really about how the tools can complement or can fit into your sort of day-to-day work. So I guess what advice would you say to people who are just really overwhelmed with, well, there's AI out there, how should I possibly start using it? And is there any sort of practical examples you can give to sort of where people can start, without giving too much away in the book, of course, but is there any practical examples that you could probably apply to that to help people with that sort of that fear of overwhelm? Because I feel like we're in a situation where it was back in the 80s when the internet was just kicking off, in the 90s, sorry, and people were going, oh, why, it's just a technological revelation. But I think with AI, it's accelerating so quickly. It's just every week something new comes out. So
sure. And I think one of the major tips I want to give is to not trying to keep up with AI. Don't try and keep up with something that you cannot keep up with. You have to go back to your basics. Ask yourself this question: what unique problem, challenge, or need are you best equipped to try to solve, or be part of a team trying to solve that problem? And that is where you need to start working on, identifying problems. Because with AI or any technology, it's going to give birth to new industries to resolve problems that are yet to be imagined or experienced. Okay, so if you understand that premise, same with electricity. Before electricity, there were problems that were completely different to when electricity came into being. So what I do is I look at across my life, activities, day-to-day activities, and look at where are my challenges. Is it I struggle to communicate between diaries? Is it I'm struggling to produce content? It's a typical one like that. The more I train the AI to understand who I am, the cadence, the rhythm of the way I speak, my philosophy, I can produce a content strategy in seconds that I just have to literally follow through when I am struggling. And that gives me guardrails. That gives me some sort of safety in terms of not having to overthink things. And so that's my real major tip is go and find problems. Now is the time for you to actually go out and seek problems, because you got the ability to solve those problems. Then you look at what tool across the whole AI portfolio is best equipped. And if you listen to these influencers all day long, and they'll say 1 minute jump on ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Anthropic, Perplexity, you're going to be going round and round in circles. You're just going to hurt yourself. You need to go all in, at least for a 6-week window, I would say, until your problem is being resolved in a way that gives you some sense of accomplishment or success. Then you can move on to the next one. But to try and beat AI, look out for problems. Go to where the problems are. Have those difficult, challenging conversations. Why is this a problem for me or somebody else? Is it a problem for me, a challenge for somebody else? Is it a need or is it a problem? Have those types of conversations, then you see there's industries that are yet to be born literally at our fingertips, because resolve that problem, Uberize it if you can with the technology, and then you're onto a winner.
So Ken, following up on that, can you share an example of where AI has significantly amplified somebody's career or business?
Okay, AI, I could tell you many. I can tell you, man. Amplified, yeah.
Then this is what makes our role great, because we just say something like that,
Yeah, we're
and
going
then
to get a
sit
cup of
that
tea
down
now, so
for
if you can
15
just,
minutes.
Yeah.
just
And
quickly.
I think a lot of
Cup of
people, if we talk about generative AI as we see it today, it's harder to find those examples. But AI has been around in our midst for donkeys of years, right? In different guises. So you see that in terms of companies, like you a lot of people don't even understand that even Steve Jobs would have been dabbling with AI, but it wasn't wrapped around AI. Anyone that has been able to produce a strategy that enables very quick, rapid growth, I can assure you they've used technology that's at the zenith. It's just below, and it's just below the cusp of our grip. So you'll be looking at companies that produce, say, iris scanning, fingerprint recognition. You'll be talking about anything, and I'm struggling to say the name, but I'm going to have to do it. Anything related to Tesla has a very strong leveraging of AI technology. And they've been doing that for years. Over 8 years, they've been in that space. Even in health technology as well, if you take a look at how we managed to produce a vaccine so quick, that's AI. So just take a look at what Big Pharma are doing with being able to harvest large sums of data, model it, and produce a vaccine in 2 years. It's unprecedented. So you find lots of these examples like that. And even the companies I mentioned now, like Perplexity, DeepSeek, all that, they're using AI. What we find is if you look at individuals on an individual basis, I think that's what you're looking for. We're in a very interesting position here in the West, where a typical business that's not AI friendly, should I say, or come to terms with AI, their workforce are using AI, but they are guarding their food. So they're still doing the work that they were allocated, but they're using various AI-driven tools to do their work, and then waiting for the same allotted time to elapse to say, I've done my work now. Instead of saying, look, I can do this work in 10 times quicker. I don't want to be at my desk twiddling my thumbs or at home twiddling my thumbs. The workforce, typically, they're guarding their food because they don't want to lose their job, because the executive board might not be digitally savvy enough to understand that with AI, if you have an open and frank conversation with your workforce, you can then say, as an organization, you want to go 10 times faster. So you've got this inertia, you've got this tug and pull between the senior management and the workforce delivering the products, where you're not operating at the same speed with the same vision. So there are so many examples of these things. AI actually providing value for organizations, individuals as well, and even voluntary agencies as well. Writing business cases. I was at a conference the other day for a large charity where they were typically writing tender bids, 1 or 2 per week, and now they're doing 10 per day, at least 10 per day. And those tenders and those applications for more funding means they can sustain their business a lot longer. So it's across the board. It's how deep you go in with the tools.
I was going to ask you, there's this crazy statistic that's out there at the moment that there's something like 30,000 new AI startups happening every month across the world, right? It's a crazy number. Do you think, because there's so many AI organizations now out there, that there's going to come a point where a lot of those are just going to fall by the wayside because they're going to try? Are they jumping on the bandwagon and just trying to get a particular workflow or something up and running in the hope that people will latch on and purchase that? And how do you see it in, maybe, because it's accelerating so fast. So let's just look at it at 5 years. In 5 years from now, do you think a lot of these companies are just going to be fallen by the wayside, and you're going to see some of the larger, more established organizations like Microsoft, like Google and others are just going to be at the forefront of that. What's your take on the fact that there's so many organizations sort of spinning up at the moment, and where do you see them in 5 years?
It's a very good question. If you take a look at what's going on geopolitically to support that, you see the US investing over 500 billion in this current Trumpian term on AI. You see the EU investing 220 billion on AI. You see the UK announcing 20 billion for AI. Yet there's no time factor and no specifics around how they want to use that money. So you can see, because the political will is there to use AI, that just supports people coming up with all of these different solutions to problems. The question is this: what problems are those solutions seeking to solve? With this technology, I would say the ones that are solving real meaningful problems, have a better chance of surviving, because there's no question it's going to be market consolidation. It happens across the board. The vast majority of these AI solutions, they are typically going to be called AI zombie applications, because they're the walking dead anyway, because they don't have they're burning through founders' cash, seed funding, and they'll be spun up so quickly, and they won't be able to provide the continual innovation. Then you get the Pac-Man syndrome, where Yellow Pac-Man has to eat up all of these smaller companies to create something bigger. We just hope what comes next is something meaningful. That's why my call is always to find problems, find deeper problems. If you're going to, and I'll put it to you, the majority of these AI apps are trying to solve the same problems. The innovation is still somewhat stagnant, and you can see it from a UI experience between, say, ChatGPT and, say, DeepSeek. The defining factor between ChatGPT and, many say, DeepSeek stole its lunch money, stole its food, was DeepSeek actually exposed the reasoning to the end user. It showed the working out, and that wowed people that were laggards in terms of taking the technology leap. It convinced those ones that, oh, now I get it. It's thinking like this, but the user experience is still very much the same across the board. So I think we're still waiting for that Google moment where you got one unifying field and everything fits into that. At the moment, we're settling for the ChatGPT. I'm still believing there's a user interface yet to be defined that will really turbocharge AI, take it to the real next level.
Martin?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great way of putting it. And I wanted to change tack slightly to something that we're dealing with at the moment, and that is a lot of stuff to do with LinkedIn. So I know over the past couple of days I've looked at a whole load of generation tools that are generating posts on LinkedIn. So there's Marquee, there's Magic Post, and of course you can use ChatGPT to ask it to generate a post. And my concern there is that we end up with a whole load of AI driven posts which appear exactly the same as one another, and I'm kind of wondering where the humanity or the human edge pops in, and how you differentiate yourself in what will inevitably become a very AI driven world. And that kind of also brings me on to things like vanity metrics. So I just mean the number of hits that you get on YouTube, and the dopamine bust that you get from YouTube, and how great that is. But really it doesn't do you any good, because you've no idea who the people are on YouTube who are watching you, whereas LinkedIn is a business market, and you're there trying to build deeper business relationships. And I'm kind of wondering whether the AI gets in the way of building those relationships or helps. What are your thoughts on that?
I think if you're lazy it will amplify the lazy. AI is an amplifier. You know, if you just like to doodle with drawings, we'll do that for you. You know, if you want to give the impression you're bigger than what you are, you know, and you put out fraudulent content, it will make you more of that. There's something about authenticity that is so important. And this is why I always start with your why, you know, particularly across LinkedIn, which is all about authenticity. The whole backdrop of LinkedIn is about proving your CV to your audience. You have that experience. You got that deep level of understanding in whatever field that you say you are. And there you have a community of people that can validate who you are. That's unlike Facebook. That's unlike Instagram. That's unlike TikTok. LinkedIn is unique. So because of it has this authenticity value component to it. Vanity metrics, you know, no one's immune to dopamine. This is why they say you could be addicted to any drug, right? Because your physiology wants it. You know, there's a biochemistry about ourselves, and once dopamine is hit, we like it, right? But there's different vanity metrics that we need to pay closer attention to on LinkedIn, because the like is okay. It's a good thing to feel like you're liked. It's a good thing to know that people have seen your content. But then the whole art of engagement is engagement. How are people engaging with your content? And the way I look at it is this: if I stop producing content for, say, a week, am I going to get feedback from my audience that, Douglas, are you okay? I haven't heard from you in a week. Typically, that's what happens. If I don't post for a little while, people reach out to me. Douglas, is everything okay? Because you become part and parcel of their world. You know, some people just are there to observe you. Some people are there to amplify you. Some people are there to bring you down. But certainly, when I look at the vanity metrics, I look for what's called believers. Who believes in my message? And that goes back to my why. Why am I doing what I'm doing? And that will always ring true where they're using an AI-generated post, because you prompted that post, and people can know that it's aligned to what you talk about all the time. They can just sense it. And even if you're trying to grow your network, it's I cannot suddenly now decide to do a post on, say, the materials used for a table tennis table. I do like table tennis, but I've never once spoke about table tennis to my audience. So that will be me venturing into a different sector, which you're entitled to, but also you got to understand you're moving away from what your audience are expecting. Even the algorithm knows that that's not the type of content you normally produce, and will not push out your content. So I don't really look at how many people view my stuff in that regard. I look for leads, soft leads. Like, is anyone DMing me? If you produce content that doesn't have a call to action, you cannot expect a call to action with audience. What do they want? What do you want your audience to do with your content when they see it? Because some of them are actually liking it, yeah, but you didn't give them the explicit instruction to do something with that like. They just, you have to program them. You say, I want you to do this. Is a software doing it or is a hardware doing it? I don't do hard sells. So most of my consultancy work comes through soft selling. I identify a problem within whatever sector I want to talk about, and I'll produce content in around the solution. And I'll sit back and then I'll start mopping up the direct messages that come from me. But that takes a lot of time. It's not something that you can go in very quickly and exploit. And the worst thing I've seen companies do is struggle to produce that content. They'll argue with me saying, we don't want to do organic content creation. It takes too long. This is typical. It takes too long. We've got no brand ambassadors, meaning your CEO doesn't want to be in front of the camera. That's what you're basically saying. Your CEO doesn't want, but as in the book, I got a chapter for that was inspired by Lena Timofeeva. She is a Russian influencer around AI. Very, very renowned woman, very, very gifted in that regard. And she spoke about who are your brand ambassadors. A lot of companies get it completely wrong, and they assume your brand ambassador, the one that can engage the best, has to be the owner of the company. No, it could be the janitor, it could be the secretary, it just has to be somebody that is passionate about your product or service. And you put them in the front of the camera and you let them play, you let them engage. So there's an element of letting go here. Sometimes you're not the right person to do that. I know as somebody that produces content, there's a degree in everything that we're doing. And I think Martin, Neil, you can testify to this. Everything we're doing is a degree. Sound, the sound engineers who got PhDs. There's lighting, there are lighting engineers who have PhDs. There's PhDs in how we dress up our studios and, all of that everything from thumbnails. But when we do all ourselves, sometimes because we do all ourselves, it's almost like a jack of all trades, master of none type situation. And some organizations do not want to put their resources in somebody that might not be high up the food chain in terms of their rank in the organization, but that could be the very same person that has the best following. And just find who can message and connect and resonate your brand offering in a way that makes sense for your organization. That's what I say. So I don't look at vanity metrics. I struggle. Yes, dopamine, I'm not immune to dopamine. So if I see a post that does really well, I do get that rush thinking, wow. But when I do really appraise it, I appraise it based upon, okay, what did this convert to? Yeah, what was the outcome of this? Did this create more business for me? Or did I just hit a note? And the proof of the pudding is also in elections. If you take a look at what's happened in the States, using AI data, vanity metrics as well, the Democrats thought they were going to win. All the data would suggest they're going to win. So sometimes AI doesn't understand how nuanced the human is. Doesn't understand, because we have 3 yeses as British people. 3 yeses. We've got they've got the polite yes. Like, how you doing? I'm doing cool. Doing great. And this all plays out on social media as well. I'm doing good. I'm doing great. So it's the politeness of British culture. Then you got the second yes. It's when somebody gives you a binary question, the yes or no answer. You don't leave any other room. So they give you yes or no. What we look for in social media, in content creation, is the third yes. That third yes is gold. And how you know you got a third yes is because not only do you get engagement, you get follow-up. So they're saying yes, and can we meet up at this time to have a further discussion? Count those.
So, a question for you then. Associated with all of this, in your book, you mention the COB. It's not a term I've heard before. Explain to everybody watching, and maybe Neil as well, because he hasn't got the book yet.
Okay.
What's the COB? Where does that fit into everything? Is the janitor on the COB? What is it? What's it stand for? Tell
Fantastic. I will do. Right, the COB. This works better if you've got a creative imagination. It does, because the COB is what's called a council of believers. Instead of counting likes, shares, subscribers, I want you to start imagining you have a council of believers. In your imagination, look up people past, present, or in the future, imaginary, or people that you respect for whatever it is. I've got Bruce Lee in my council of believers. I've got Nelson Mandela in there, Steve Biko. I've got lots of characters in my council of believers. And because I've got the autobiographies, I know how they sound in my head. So a council of believers is a board that you create in your imagination that you go to and you present your work and you ask them, what would they say? What would they say about what you're doing? They hold you to account. And that is a far, for me, stronger way of maintaining motivation, becoming resilient, particularly when you get nasty feedback, there's always a keyboard warrior out there that says something like a sniper shot at you that cuts you so deep. Well, I get all the time as a council politician. I get it all the time. But when I think about the mentors I have within my council of believers, I was like, how would they respond to this? And I'll find the resilience. I'll find the way of pushing myself through. So yeah, that's what it is, the council. You could be as creative as you like. I got some manga fictional characters in mind, from Fist of the North Star. I got Ken, for those who are geeked out in terms of the very old manga cartoons. I got a lot of characters that really shaped and molded my philosophy. And I'll go back to my CLB. What would they do in this situation? And that way I can keep moving forward. And I do that even when I walk the dog. Before I put out content, I kind of like think about that. And it helps keep my true north steady.
So people out there, in the comments, who's on your council of believers?
Exactly.
Throw some in there. It'll be interesting to see who comes up in the comments with good people they need on their council of believers. It's been a while since I've heard Steve Biko's name as well, because I went to college in Coventry initially, and during the 80s. So everything was named after Steve Biko and Nelson Mandela and all these people, inspirational people of the time. Yeah. So a name to bring back into the Council of Believers. Who's on your Council of Believers, Neil?
Gosh, I haven't even thought about that until now. So you're putting me on the spot. I have to give me some time. Yeah. I'll have a think about it.
But sorry, we're meant to be interviewing, aren't we?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Keep the questions to this fella over here. That's it. Yeah. But it is an interesting one though, and I'd never heard that term before. I was going to ask you actually about the whole book writing process for you. So I guess my first question is, why did you feel compelled to write this book? What was the motivation for you to sort of put pen to paper? I know it was a lot of soul searching and going deep into sort of how you're aligning AI with, day to day and your personal journey. But what made you write the book in the first place? Did you say, I'm going to do something, and then a year later you wrote the book? Or was it just over a period of time that you thought it's time to put pen to paper and I feel sort of passionate about this? What was your inspiration?
I think it's a combination. My dad is a writer. He wrote many books that hopefully want to translate from Shona to English at some point. So I grew up with the pen, and Steve Biko's my weapon's my pen. I married my role, I think, in ink. I've always been writing. So it's been a calling from a very young age. I'm full of affirmations. Everywhere I go, I'm constantly writing things down. So I wrote a concept called the 140 rule when I was about 31, 32. The concept of how could we reprogram ourselves. And that was taking 140 characters to define a problem, challenge, or need. And then from those 140 characters, you also must be able to define what interventions are you going to deploy to solve that problem in 140 characters. You got to understand this whole concept came out just before Twitter. So 140 characters means that you constrict the noise. Helping people to think is what I do. As a nurse, I've nursed people who have ended their lives, that wanted to end their lives, that didn't know their why, that wished that things were different. So in working as a mental health nurse for over 20 years, and I still practice that, it's incumbent on me to try to help as many people as possible become unstuck and fulfill their purpose. So I always felt that's a calling for myself. And even when I was an engineer, that was I wanted to produce the best products to help humans have the best experience. So as I said, I work with people, products, and services just to amplify the human, to make sure that they have the best experience going. So I always knew I was going to write the book. It's how the book was going to come out. So that's why this book's a fusion of ancient philosophy, transformational guidance, practical exercises. Many people read books, but then they're left thinking, what next? That's why this book, you are compelled to practice these exercises. It's a physical book. I wanted to write a book that's physical, that if I put my whole soul into that book, I will leave nothing on the table. So it's like literally, I'm your guide there. So it was exciting. And I think the first question was in terms of the revelation. It was terrifying for me to put all that down, because you got to understand, I have over probably 40 years worth of content, like written down, post-it notes, in diaries, all over the place, and then to make it make sense. And this is where AI comes into effect. I knew the journey, I knew the lessons. How can I make this? And this is for any writer out there, as again, a tools for helping people stay on the right path to writing. So I committed 2 hours a day, just for the first month, going through my hard drives, my old literature, my school folder, and reading what I'd written before and making sense of it. Then I took pictures of all those stuff. Then I started mapping them out as chapters. Then I start introducing the technology to it, because you can read as many AI books or any technology books as you like. If you're not amplifying the human being, what do you get at the end of the day? You get people that are half filled with success, and they're always on to the next one. I want people to be really, really purposeful. We need people that will care about our planet. We need people that will have an ethical consideration to how they're using AI. We want all of these things to be at play. But I was finding the gap in the market. I thought, if I write a book that's truly unique to me, one, it stops people thinking it's written by AI. Two, it's the most human thing you could ever do. Is write a book. Nothing more human than writing a book. You feel so exposed. Even now, when Martin showed the book up on the screen, I got shivers because it is me. Now is the time for us to be human, because that's the only thing that's going to differentiate us from machines. That's the only thing. So you can read, you can learn, go on all these boot camps, learn all the latest prompting, all that kind of stuff, do AI agents. What about the human? That's the only thing you have left for your USP. That's why my examples in my book are directly associated with things I've seen, saw, or heard growing up. They're not things that I've just taken from someone else's book and say, I want to put that as an example. No, you read that, you read me. So that's what I want people to believe, that, they call it meta skills. And this is our saving grace for humanity. If we don't embrace our meta skills, which are basically the ability to dream and actualize a dream, a machine will never be able to do that. To be able to make real human-to-human connections, as us three are having on this conversation, a machine can never do that. No, not on a deeper level. You can spam people, but not on a deeper level. Be able to take examples that make no sense. In the book, I talk about the 3 little pigs in terms of storytelling. Well, you know what? If the 3 little pigs didn't decide to leave home, there wouldn't be a story. So there's something about leaving home is a story in itself. So being able to take examples from one industry, applications from one industry, and apply it to a completely new industry, then smash them together, you create new art. You create something that never existed before in that combination. That is where we are. So it's a call to action again for everybody to start thinking about what makes them unique, what makes them human, and lean into that as much as possible, because it will drip feed even into the way you prompt. So you find that your outputs are still human, even though they're being co-produced by AI.
Right. I think what you just said resonated a lot with Val, and she said, now is the time for us to be humans. So thank you. Exactly. And I think we should not forget about the human element. I think a lot of people do get scared about AI and the fact that, Terminator, end of the world, and all that kind of stuff. And the fact that it's advancing so quickly as well. I mean, there's some scary statistics that the AI models that we have at the moment, in a matter of a couple of years, or a year, I think, will have the collective intelligence of the entire human race in one language model, purely because it's accelerating at such a phenomenal rate in terms of learning, in terms of the information that it's been harvested. And to your point around the tools, and basically they should be used as an accompaniment. You know, they're not there to take over your writing skills, your prompting, and so on. And to Martin's point around where you've got so many tools now that will help you craft social posts, there's nothing wrong with that. We can all improve in terms of how we write, our articulation, and the messaging that we want to push, as long as it's coming from us. We can use the tools to craft and help and reshape and redefine, but they shouldn't be the actual content itself. That shouldn't be created with that. And we all use it now. And it has been a revelation, and I think it's made certain ways of writing, certain ways of creating code, whatever it might be, more accessible to anybody. People who didn't have the abilities or the skills to be able to do certain functions is available now to everybody within AI. So I don't think it's a bad thing, but I do think it has to be taught. It has to have your voice. It has to have, your view on that. And I think the learning models where you can actually teach AI to be more you in terms of how you would present the material, how you would write, how you would think, and so on, is really important, because people too often just generically go on to ChatGPT. They haven't trained the model. They'll create some prompt. They'll create a message. They'll send it out, and it's like, well, that looks like AI. And the ironic thing is, now you've got AI to detect AI. So how far do you go? I guess. I guess one of my questions, a follow-up to the book, is, so what was your writing process? So you mentioned 2 hours a day in terms of getting your research and all your stuff together. So did you, and forgive me because I haven't got your book yet, did you self-publish? Did you go with a publisher? Did you use an editor? Did you do all the work and editing yourself? Because I've spoken to people before about writing books, and some people have had a really tough time when they've had an editor involved, whereby, well, that's my baby, and now you're taking all this stuff out, because they know better. The publishers know what makes a good book, what makes a book sellable, what makes a book read well. And, if you're doing it yourself, and then you give this to somebody else, and they just basically start to cut out all this data in your book, you think, well, hang on a minute, you don't know that. That's me. So I'd be interested to know what you did, whether you self-published, whether you went with an editor, and maybe some of the pros and cons, and maybe lessons learned from your first book, because there may be people here who want to write a book, and one, should you do it, and two, what are some of the lessons you've learned from that?
Absolutely. No, thank you. Great question. Now, I think everybody has a book in them. For every problem that exists, there's a book out there with a solution. So what we need is more people writing books. And there's another frightening stat that in the next 10, 15 years, people won't be reading books anymore. There are different ways of us ingesting information. We've got just-in-time knowledge, which I'll talk about in the book, which gives rise to people, you're not guaranteed to be successful because you can regurgitate something that you revised. It's what do you know right now, because things are moving so quickly. We've got no time for research, as such. So it's about just-in-time knowledge. But I would say you first have to believe in yourself. You got to put the X on yourself, in a good way. You have to believe in yourself. And the route that you can to publish. And I've gone through the pain where I went with a publisher and I've had those scribbles. And one thing I would say is authenticity is important. I've got probably in the basement here, over 60 books around personal development. I've been working in personal development, for over 20 years. So I live and breathe this. And the evidence is shown out of the stuff I produce daily. Right. So that research is unique to myself. So you're going to have to ask yourself, when you're writing a book, do you have enough knowledge experience to speak to that you're writing about? Or do you want to write about something as a novelty project? Right. So you got to ask yourself those questions. Why do you want to write the book? Who do you want to reach? Who's your intended audience? So when I used a publisher, not only I was looking at it from the point of view of ownership, right? Ownership, complete ownership. And I felt that my story, which is born out of struggle for the most part of it, because I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. So I thought to myself, this story is so unique. Even if I sell one copy, I'm happy, because the book is not preliminarily made to sell. To sell large volumes, yes, that'd be fantastic. It's art. I'll do it for the sake of the art. I'll do it to respect my lineage, to have legacy. And then the byproduct of that are opportunities open up for you. So the opportunities that have opened up for this book, which is going to be released on the 16th of May officially, you can do advanced order by Amazon. You can just go to Amazon, type in the AI leverage, building purpose, resilience, and success. You can do your advanced order there, but it's going to be out and available in bookstores as well by the 16th of May. Right. So I went for the middle option, where I didn't want to go anymore with a publishing house who would take everything from you and leave you scraps, as it were. I thought my book is so unique, right, that they won't get what I want to do, which is fine. So I went with Brown Dog Books, right? We allow you to do what's called semi-publishing. So it's like self-publishing, but they act as publishers for you in terms of they will proofread your work for you. They give you advice. They help you with the formatting of the book. They help you with the position of the book. They help getting your book in bookstores, and you retain all your the copyright for the book. You retain all of that, but you have to do the marketing yourself. So the question would be for me is, if I went for, say, I don't want to mention any other publishers' names, but if I went for a reputable publisher, or well-known publisher, should I say, there's no guarantee they'll promote your book, particularly if it's the first of a kind. You know, the royalties that you get when you are unknown entity is not even worth considering, in my estimation. I know my audience because I've cultivated that audience. I've served that audience for the last 10, 15 years. I kind of know what they want and need. So I figured if I go this route, you know, yes, the promotional element is my own, which is fine. I could always then go to a publisher when I know it's done. And the conversation I will have is different from when I'm trying to get the first book out and I'm getting, you know, cross that out, take that out, remove that, do this. It was just going to be too long. And in a book of this nature, timing is so key. It's almost like if you're a musician and you're writing a song about the summer on the beach, you know, you got to release that song in the spring so it's ready for the summer. You cannot release it in winter and expect people to buy it. There's a timing element to your writing, like there's a rhythm to it. So I knew this book has to come out now, and I know I couldn't wait a year back and forth with different creative elements. No, when people read that book, they know it's me. That's it. There's nobody else. I'm fully accountable, fully responsible, and I give myself authority. And I think this is what AI gives you as a gift, gives you the ability so that you can make these tough calls yourself. You can do your own research, you know? And yeah, so that's why I chose to do that way. I didn't publish on Amazon directly. So I think it's called KDP. No, right. So I paid for this as well. So you have to pay for that service.
Right.
Which is fine. It's an investment.
Cool. And is it on audiobook as well, or is that something that you're planning in the future to do an audiobook?
As you just heard a few moments ago when you heard the doorbell rang. And our doorbell, by the way, is a train engine. It's
right,
like,
okay.
We've got Harry Potter's front door ringtone. Right. So that begets the problem. I got the setup here to record, and I've done 3 or 4 attempts. I got deep into a certain chapter, and then my son runs down the stairs and breaks all our concentration. So audiobook, I'm looking for a studio where I can go to and then just record the audiobook and have it engineered. I could do it here, but I can't control every element, and you got to have it really locked in without any external sounds. I would have done it here a long time ago.
Or you could just pay for your family to go on holiday without you, and then you could just sit there for a week and do that yourself. Whatever's cheaper.
Yeah. That's on the cards. It's on the cards. But yeah, I want to do it, and I need to set aside at least 3 weeks to record the audio book for accessibility as well. I listen to more audiobooks than I read, and if I listen to a good audiobook, I'll buy the physical book as well.
Yeah.
So there was something you said earlier, Neil, and I wrote it down in terms of but what I want to say is about the human and why it's so important. With all the speed of technology, we shouldn't lose track of the soul. No one's doing anything on the soul. What makes us unique? There's no data there. So you can have the most intelligent hypercomputer in one model. Fine, I can accept that. It won't have a single soul in it. It won't have a single soul in it. So I'm here to expose the human, and that is what will make your content always unique. We could do something completely random that no AI can even imagine to do. We can just change our minds about things on a gut instinct, just a gut, and we have no way of understanding why we're not going to walk home that particular direction. Just don't want to walk, and no predictive journey planning can map those things out for you. So I think as we get more and more technology, what you're going to see here is the style of prompting, the style of content coming out, and there's going to be watermarks in how people use these tools that can give themes to who you are, whether you're introverted or you're extroverted, because again, it's only going to amplify who you are. If you're used to producing one piece of content a day, you will still produce one piece of content a day. I'm a firm believer of that. You are who you are, no matter what tool is in front of you. If you're risk adverse, you're still going to be risk adverse with AI. And that's what's happening. People are still out there twiddling their thumbs, scared that they're going to set up World War III just by entering a prompt. That's still ever present in many people's lives. It's about finding that hope and going to your why. This conversation is always going to be going to why are you doing what you're doing. The technology is there in the background. Yes, I get it. But if your why is not satisfied, you'll never be successful in whatever you do. And you're going to find whatever you're doing, you're going to have peaks and troughs. You're not going to be consistent across the line in terms of producing anything meaningful for yourself.
Sure. As we're getting close to the time, I'll let Martin maybe ask a penultimate question, maybe.
Yeah, well, I was going to say I'm normally the timekeeper here, but I'm noticing we're close to the time and it's flown past, so that's great. So I'm going to ask one last question, but it could go on another half an hour with Douglas here. So when somebody has read your book, so they got to the end of the book, what are the key takeaways and actionable outcomes they could expect from the book?
Transformation. And you got to be prepared. What is transformation? A caterpillar looks nothing like a butterfly. Anatomically, it's a completely different thing. So if you're not prepared to be completely different, and I can't tell you what that is, you will be completely different to your predecessor, to the ancestor of yourself. And you will find that the purpose of what you do, you're going to find a level of confidence that you never thought you had. You'll be, if I can embrace it in a Charles Dickens moment, you'll be Scrooge after he visits the third ghost. That moment when he just... And people around you will be still expecting the old Scrooge. But the third ghost changed you. And you can't go back. That is what this book does. That's what this book does. And that's the feedback I've been getting from people who have read the book. There are deep lessons in there. If they're applied to your life, will give you that sense of purpose, give you that sense of resilience so that you can find success as you define it, not as how somebody else defines it for you.
One last follow-up question then, if I may. Would you do it again? Would you write another book? And do you have another book in you?
I think so. I think I've got another book in me. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for the feedback to see if it correlates to my hunch. I think I want to see if it correlates too much. I've got a gut instinct to see where I was going with this book. I just want to see if the audience, because again, I guess the book is not mine anymore. It's yours. It's like a song, right? You write a song and then somebody's butchering it in karaoke or using it for a cause that you never thought would. It's their song, isn't it, right? It's like a story. Once you tell a story, it doesn't belong to you, no more. It belongs to the person telling the story. So I got my ideas, I got my theories in my head in terms of where I want to take this. The next writing, I'm refining the way I write now. There's a clearer, there's a clarity to the way I think now. Before it was scattergun, it was like everything, but now there's some logic behind what, and I understand the tools that will enable me to put things down in a way that I guess will be able to reach a broader audience, because there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. I think we're still for a lot of people sleepwalking into the future, and I don't think we should be sleepwalking into the future. We've got to be fully conscious, fully engaged, fully aware, and then that way we can land in a better place as humans.
Take the red pill.
Yeah.
It's a reference to the book and the Matrix.
Yeah,
excellent.
Absolutely.
So I think that's been brilliant. So I would just want to thank you for talking about a book, and I will get round to reading all of it, but it's going to take me a little while. I'm a slow reader, but I'll absorb it all as I go along. Fantastic.
I look forward to your feedback. And again, this is where you need a publisher, because even the type, the fonts that we used was chosen to make it really accessible. You can't see it, Neil, but Martin, you probably can see it in the book. It's easy to read. We chose a font that really, really works. Spacing really works. Yeah.
Okay.
And that was Arda. On that page, the page you had there very quickly was the technique. We spoke earlier about having difficult conversations. And there's this technique that we use in therapy that is unknown by many people, but it was, if you're having a difficult conversation trying to convince your boss, your spouse that you want to do something great, this is the technique I want you to use. It works on children as well. It's ARDA. The page you open there is called Ask, Acknowledge, Discuss, and Agree. That is, if I could prompt it, the powerful prompt, you ask, yeah? How can I help you? What's up? It's a good time for us to have a conversation, yeah? Acknowledge. This is where 90% of people fail. We don't acknowledge each other. If you come home, imagine your spouse comes home tired from work and she's dripping or they're dripping wet, caught in the rain, and you don't acknowledge that they're wet. You just continue as normal. That person's going to feel aggrieved. We don't acknowledge each other. And particularly when it goes against our value system or our principles, people have deviant ways of us for doing or living their life. We don't like it. So we refuse to acknowledge. But if you don't acknowledge, you can't move to the next step. So 90% of people will fail at the second step. The asking is fine. The acknowledgement, they can't do it because they've got the biases. Then you move to discussion. And then in the discussion point is 80-20% rule. 80% of what you got to do, you are listening. 80% has to come from them. So 20% you listen, 80% has to come from the other person. A lot of people like talking, can't even get that right. Yeah? And then you have to have agreement. And even agreement to disagree is still an agreement. So there are techniques in there, as I've said, that comes from deep therapeutic engagement that we apply to our lives can transform any situation as well. So those teachings are in the book as well. That's a bonus.
There you go. Well, thank you very much again, Doug, for being on the show. It's always a pleasure to have you here. And I'm just going to run up this little scene to let people know where they can get your book. So there is your book. Now, that's your LinkedIn profile as well. And there is a link that's just been posted now. So basically, we can get the book on Amazon and all good publishers, I guess. And it's available, you said, on the 16th?
Absolutely. 16th of May.
All right. So pre-order it now. Go and grab yourself a copy. And I guess you'll get that audiobook version out at some point when you've got some time. Yeah, exactly.
How about use your studio?
Well, there you go. Come over to Portugal. Or we can all just meet up in Edinburgh and spend 2 days on your audiobook, and then we'll just be giving you beers and things like that just to keep you going. That's probably not a good idea. Probably just, probably get a lot longer as it's protracted out. But Doug, very happy for you to be here. And if you just want to hang around just for a few minutes, if you've got some time before because I know that the dog might need feeding or kids might need letting out or one of the two, but we don't want to keep you too long. But it's always a pleasure. Okay. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you in a few minutes. Doug, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So I'm looking forward to getting the book. I mean, it could arrive probably this time next year because I'm in Portugal, so you never know. But the post isn't the fastest, but that's okay. But maybe you'll have read the book, Martin, by the time I've got my copy and we can talk about it. Who knows?
There's a couple of references to the Christmas Carol in it, so maybe it's coming in time for Christmas for you.
Yeah.
So.
Maybe it will. Maybe it will. So we just want to let you know as well about our course that we've actually created to get people on LinkedIn, start live streaming and so on. And if I just bring that up, you can grab it here. So it's go live now on LinkedIn. If you click on the QR code, that'll take you to the Udemy course, and looking forward to you taking part in the course.
Yeah.
Let us know your feedback, and getting people live on LinkedIn is our goal. Go ahead.
And we ought to give a quick shout out to a couple of people who popped in to help us with the course. So Tatiana and Eden and Valerie, thanks for contributing your thoughts to looking good on camera for the course.
Indeed, it was a valuable few lessons there in the course around how to sort of set up your studio and look good on camera. And it's really important, as we've seen from time to time on various calls and things, that it's not just about the content that you're creating. You have to look good on camera as well, because this is your new suit. This is your digital CV. So hopefully, if you want to learn more about going live on LinkedIn and the little quirks to get you set up and going live, then check out our course. Anyway, so it's been great again to have Doug on the show, and Martin, as always, a pleasure to have you here as well. And we've got a few guests coming up in the next few weeks, but we'll let you know. So make sure you check out our respective channels, subscribe and do all that good stuff, so you'll be notified of when we go live. But every Thursday we are live here at the same time. We've put a little halt on the vertical show at the moment because we obviously were working on the course and things like that. We only had a certain amount of time, but we may bring that back depending when LinkedIn decides to bring in the vertical video feed, although just video feed in general. I did get an update today, Martin, on my app, and I was super happy to look at it and then realize, no, they haven't really added the LinkedIn live video piece again. So who knows when they're going to do that.
Oh, well, we'll keep waiting. They keep moving everything around, so that's annoying enough. But we're looking for them to add that bit in, and then we'll be going live in the vertical, and that will be revolutionary.
Again, yeah, absolutely. All right, well, everybody, thanks for joining us. Again, it's always nice to see all your comments and your sort of virtual faces there, and we'll see you this time next week for some more live stuff. Until then, we'll see you then. Bye.